Cops target black single dad at park. His phone call to the Pentagon destroys their careers. The sun hung high over Lincoln Memorial Park in the quiet suburb of Oak Ridge, Louisiana, turning the grass into a bright emerald carpet and making the swing sets gleam like polished chrome. It was one of those perfect late spring Saturdays where families flocked to the playground like it was the only place on earth that mattered. Laughter echoed from every direction, kids shrieking down slides, parents calling out warnings about running too fast, the distant thump of a basketball on the nearby court. Darren Hayes sat on a weathered wooden bench near the edge of the sandbox, elbows on his knees, watching his 8-year-old son Malik build an elaborate sandcastle with fierce concentration. Malik's tongue poked out the side of his mouth the way it always did when he was deep in creation mode. Darren smiled despite himself. After everything, the cancer that stole Aisha 3 years ago, the endless nights of grief that felt like drowning, the double shifts at the auto shop just to keep the lights on, this moment felt like stolen grace. Just him and his boy, no bills due for another week, no ghosts whispering in the quiet. Malik looked up suddenly, sand caked on his brown cheeks like war paint. "Dad, come help. The tower needs a moat." Darren chuckled and slid off the bench, crouching beside his son. "Moat coming right up, General Malik. Can't have dragons getting in." They worked together in comfortable silence, Darren digging a trench with his hands while Malik carefully placed twig bridges across it. For a few minutes, the world narrowed to wet sand and small fingers. Then the shadow fell. 2 Oak Ridge PD officers approached from the parking lot path. Officer Kyle Dwyer, tall and broad-shouldered with the kind of mustache that looked like it belonged in a 1980s cop movie, and his partner, Officer Trent Ramsey, younger, twitchy, eyes darting like he was waiting for something to go wrong. Both wore the standard dark blue uniforms, badges catching the sunlight, hands resting casually near their belts. Dwyer stopped a few feet away, arms folded. "Afternoon," he said, voice flat. His gaze flicked from Darren to Malik and back again, lingering a beat too long on the boy's bright red Spider-Man backpack lying in the grass. Darren straightened slowly, brushing sand from his palms. "Afternoon, officers." "Something wrong?" Ramsey shifted his weight. "Got a call about suspicious activity around the playground. Man matching your description loitering near children, no female guardian in sight." Darren felt the familiar tightening in his chest, the one that came whenever authority figures looked at him like he was already guilty of something. He kept his voice even. "That call must have been mistaken. I'm here with my son. Been here about an hour. We're just building a castle." Dwyer's eyes narrowed. "Single dad, huh? Where's the mother?" The question landed like a slap, but Darren had heard worse. "She passed away 3 years ago. Cancer." A flicker crossed Dwyer's face, maybe discomfort, maybe dismissal. He glanced at Ramsey, who gave a small nod as if they just confirmed something. "ID," Dwyer said, not a request. Darren reached slowly for his wallet in his back pocket, telegraphing every move. He pulled out his driver's license and handed it over. Dwyer took it without looking at it right away, instead scanning the park like he expected backup to arrive any second. Malik had stopped digging. He stared up at the officers, eyes wide. "Dad? Are we in trouble?" Darren forced a calm smile. "No, buddy. Just talking to the police. Keep working on that moat, okay?" Dwyer finally glanced at the ID, then back at Darren. "Says here you're from Baton Rouge originally. What brings you to Oak Ridge?" "Live here now. Work at Hayes Auto on Main. Been here 4 years. Ramsey stepped closer, lowering his voice but not enough that Malik couldn't hear. "We get a lot of complaints about certain individuals hanging around kids' areas. You understand?" Darren's jaw tightened. He could feel eyes from other parents turning their way, some curious, some uncomfortable, a few already pulling out phones. "I understand you're profiling me because I'm black and alone with my child. That's what this is." Dwyer's face hardened. "Watch your tone. We're just following up on a report." "There was no report," Darren said quietly. You didn't even run the call through dispatch properly, did you? I know how this works. Ramsey bristled. You accusing us of something? Malik's lower lip trembled. He stood up, sand cascading off his shorts, and grabbed Darren's hand. Dad, I want to go home. Darren squeezed his son's fingers gently. Soon, Malik. Just stay close. Dwyer sighed like this was all a big inconvenience. Look, sir, step over here with us. We need to run a quick check. Routine. Darren didn't move. Am I being detained? Not yet, Dwyer said. But you're making this harder than it needs to be. The air thickened. Other families were watching openly now. A mother with a toddler edged away. A grandfather on a bench shook his head slowly. Darren looked down at Malik, whose eyes were starting to glisten. Then he looked back at the officers. And in that moment, something shifted inside him, not anger, exactly, but resolve. The kind that comes after years of swallowing pride, burying pain, and still showing up every day for your kid. He reached into his pocket again, this time for his phone. Dwyer's hand twitched toward his holster. Hands where I can see them. Darren pulled the phone out slowly, screen already unlocked. I'm making a call. You're welcome to listen. Ramsey snorted. Who are you calling? You a lawyer? Won't help. Darren met their eyes evenly. No. Someone a little higher up. He scrolled to a contact labeled simply, Pentagon Secure. And pressed call. The line rang once. Twice. Then a crisp, professional voice answered on the other end. Secure line. Authorization code? Darren spoke clearly, voice steady as stone. Hayes, Darren J., clearance level, Delta 7 Echo. Requesting immediate verification and escalation. Officers on scene are escalating a non-incident involving myself and my minor child. A pause. Then, stand by, Mr. Hayes. Verifying now. Dwyer and Ramsey exchanged glances, first confused, then uneasy. Malik tugged his dad's sleeve. Dad, who is that? Darren looked down at his son and gave a small, reassuring smile. That's someone who makes sure the right people do the right thing, buddy. The phone crackled again. Mr. Hayes, this is Colonel Ramirez, DOD Internal Affairs Liaison. We have your location via GPS ping. Body cam feeds from Oak Ridge PD are being pulled remotely as we speak. Stay on the line. Help is en route. Dwyer's face drained of color. Ramsey took a half step back. The park had gone quiet, the only sounds the distant squeak of swings and the soft buzz of Darren's phone on speaker. What happened next would change everything. The phone stayed pressed to Darren's ear, speaker on, Colonel Ramirez's calm, clipped voice carrying clearly across the suddenly silent playground. Mr. Hayes, we have visual confirmation via the nearest department body cams, both officers are still on scene. Dispatch logs show number 911 call originated for suspicious activity at Lincoln Memorial Park in the last 90 minutes. We're cross-referencing with 311 non-emergency lines now. Preliminary assessment, false pretext. Dwyer's mustache twitched. He took one step forward, voice dropping to what he probably thought was an intimidating register. Hang up the phone, sir. Now. Darren didn't flinch. Colonel, you still reading me? Loud and clear, Ramirez replied. We've also pulled your service record. Honorable discharge, United States Army Intelligence, 2012 to 2018. Specialized in signals intelligence and counterintelligence liaison with Joint Special Operations Command. Current civilian security clearance, active, TS/SCI with Delta 7 Echo compartment access. That correct? Correct, Darren said simply. Ramsey let out a nervous laugh that died halfway. Delta what? This some kind of prank? Colonel Ramirez didn't miss a beat. Not a prank, Officer Ramsey. Your badge number is 4782, correct? Partner is 3191, Dwyer. We're currently mirroring your department-issued radios and mobile data terminals. Your shift sergeant has just been notified of an internal affairs override. He's en route with Lieutenant Brooks from Professional Standards. ETA 6 minutes. Dwyer's hand, which had been hovering near his belt, dropped to his side like it suddenly weighed 50 pounds. His eyes flicked toward the parking lot entrance as if calculating escape routes. Malik pressed closer to Darren's leg, voice small. "Dad, are they gonna arrest you?" Darren crouched slightly so he could look his son in the eye without taking the phone away from his ear. "No, baby. They're not arresting anybody today. Just making sure everybody follows the rules." A murmur rippled through the growing cluster of parents who had drifted closer, some filming now with their phones held high, others whispering furiously. One woman, mid-30s, braids pulled back in a high ponytail, stepped forward holding her toddler on her hip. "I've been here the whole time," she called out. "That man's been playing with his little boy since I got here. Nobody called the police on him. Y'all just rolled up like you already knew who to hassle." Dwyer shot her a look that could have curdled milk. "Ma'am, step back. This doesn't it concerns all of us when y'all harass a black father in front of his child for no reason," she snapped back. Several other parents nodded, phones still recording. Ramirez's voice cut through again. "Mr. Hayes, we've now confirmed your location coordinates match the GPS ping. We're also pulling archived footage from the 3 municipal cameras covering the playground perimeter. Initial facial recognition match on both officers places them arriving approximately 4 minutes before your verbal engagement began. No visible complainant approached them. We're treating this as potential color of law violation under 18 U.S.C. Section 242, pending full review." Dwyer finally spoke directly to the phone, voice tight. "Who the hell is this? You can't just. I'm Colonel Elena Ramirez, United States Army, currently assigned to the Department of Defense Office of Inspector General, Special Investigations Division. I'm speaking with you because Mr. Hayes holds a current national security clearance that triggers mandatory federal oversight whenever a law enforcement interaction rises to the level of potential rights, deprivation, or abuse of authority. That threshold has been met." Ramsey's face had gone from red to ashen. We got a call, you got nothing," Ramirez said flatly. "We've audited the call logs. 0 incoming reports matching your description of events. You initiated contact without lawful basis. Bodycam audio already captured your partner stating, quote, 'We get a lot of complaints about certain individuals hanging around kids' areas.' That statement, combined with 0 corroborating complaint, establishes prima facie evidence of discriminatory policing." Darren kept his expression neutral, but inside something cold and satisfied uncoiled in his chest. He hadn't used this number in 6 years, not since he left the life behind to give Malik stability. The clearance had stayed active because the compartment he'd worked in dealt with lingering classified programs that never really sunset. He'd kept the phone charged, kept the number in his contacts, because old habits die hard. And because, deep down, he always knew there might come a day like today. Lieutenant Brooks's unmarked cruiser slid into the parking lot, lights off but moving fast. 2 more patrol cars followed seconds later. The sergeant climbed out first, older white man, salt and pepper hair, face already arranged in the universal expression of "I don't get paid enough for this." He walked straight toward the group, eyes flicking from Darren's phone to the 2 officers. "Dwyer. Ramsey. Step over here. Now." Dwyer hesitated. "Sarge, this guy's now," the sergeant barked. They moved. Darren lowered the phone slightly but kept it on speaker. "Colonel, department supervisor is on scene." "Good," Ramirez replied. "Lieutenant Brooks has already been briefed via secure channel. He'll take custody of their body cams and weapons pending administrative leave. Mr. Hayes, we'll need a formal statement at your convenience, can be done remotely. Do you wish to press any civilian complaints at this time?" Darren looked down at Malik, who was now clutching both his hand and the half-finished sandcastle bucket like it was a shield. I want two things, Darren said. One, my son and I get to leave this park without any further interference. Two, those officers don't get to keep their badges after today. A pause on the line. Then Ramirez's voice, almost gentle, the second one is above my pay grade, but I can promise you the investigation will be thorough, transparent, and fast-tracked. We don't tolerate this kind of conduct from anyone wearing a uniform, especially not when it targets a decorated veteran and his child. The sergeant was already speaking quietly but urgently to Dwyer and Ramsey. Both men looked like they'd aged 10 years in the last 5 minutes. Darren finally took the phone off speaker and pressed it to his ear again. Thank you, Colonel. You don't owe me thanks, Chief Warrant Officer Hayes, she said, using his old rank. You earned every bit of this support the day you pinned on that beret. Go take care of your boy. We'll handle the rest. Darren ended the call. He looked around at the faces staring back, some shocked, some quietly triumphant, a few still filming. Then he knelt, brushed sand off Malik's cheek, and said, "What do you say we finish that moat at home, General? Got some blue food coloring we can use for the water." Malik's eyes were still wide, but the fear was starting to fade. "Can we make dragons too?" "Dragons mandatory," Darren said, scooping up the Spider-Man backpack. "Let's go." As they walked toward the parking lot, past the cruisers and the cluster of officers now being quietly relieved of their duty belts, one of the filming mothers called out, "God bless you, sir. And thank you for your service." Darren gave her a small nod. He didn't say anything. He didn't need to. The video was already uploading. By sundown, it would be everywhere. By the time Darren pulled his silver 2018 Honda Accord out of the Lincoln Memorial Park lot, the first version of the clip was already live. The mother with the braids and the toddler, her handle was at MomRochelle504, had uploaded the full 3-minute, 42-second recording straight to X with the caption, "Oak Ridge PD just tried to harass a black single dad and his 8-year-old son at the playground for no reason. Man pulls out his phone, calls the Pentagon, and watch these cops turn ghost white. This is wild. Hashtag justice, hashtag Black Dads Matter, hashtag police accountability." She tagged local news stations, several civil rights organizations, the NAACP Louisiana chapter, and, for reasons she later said were just a gut feeling, a handful of prominent black journalists and veteran advocacy accounts. Within 17 minutes, the video had 4,200 views. By the 30-minute mark, it crossed 18,000. Darren didn't check his phone while driving. Malik sat in the booster seat and back, quietly coloring a dragon on the back of a fast food bag they grabbed on the way home. The radio played low, some old school R&B station Malik liked because it made him think of his mom singing in the kitchen. They made it home to the small 2-bedroom rental on Cypress Street without incident. Darren locked the front door, double-checked the deadbolt out of habit, then finally let himself exhale. "Homework first or castle building first?" he asked. "Castle," Malik declared, already running for the plastic bin of craft supplies under the coffee table. Darren smiled, set his phone face down on the kitchen counter, and joined his son on the living room floor. They worked in companionable quiet, blue food coloring turning a pie tin into a shimmering moat, toothpicks for drawbridge supports, a red paper napkin cut into flames for dragon breath. The phone buzzed once. Twice. Then it didn't stop. Darren ignored it until Malik looked up and said, "Dad, your phone's having a party." He flipped it over. 73 notifications. X mentions, text messages from coworkers, 2 missed calls from an unknown number with a 202 area code, Washington, D.C., a text from his shift supervisor at the auto shop, "Bro, you famous now?" And a DM from at MomRochelle504 herself, "Hey King, just wanted to say I'm so sorry y'all went through that today. Posted the video BC, somebody needs to see this mess. If you want me to take it down, I will. But I think the world needs to know what kind of policing we dealing with. Praying for you and Lil Man." Darren typed back quickly, "Thank you. Please don't take it down. Malik and I appreciate you speaking up. We're okay." He hit send, then opened X for the first time. The original post was sitting at 147K views. The algorithm had already done its job, quote tweets, stitches, reaction videos. A local news station had picked it up and was running a breaking news cheering. Viral video shows Oak Ridge officers confronting father. Pentagon call follows. Someone had already done a screen grab zoom on Darren's phone screen when he first dialed, catching the contact named Pentagon, secure, crystal clear. Another user stitched the clip with side-by-side footage of Dwyer and Ramsey's public Facebook profiles, both still proudly displaying their badges and American flag profile frames. Comments poured in. Bro called the Pentagon like it was DoorDash. This why we say some people serve and protect. Others just to press honorable discharge plus TS/SCI clearance plus single black dad equals cops immediate malfunction. A verified account, a retired Army colonel with 890K followers. Quote tweeted, as a former JSOC liaison, I can confirm that clearance level is not handed out lightly. This man protected this nation at the highest levels. Today the nation protected him back. Well done, C.W. Hayes. Darren stared at the screen a long moment. Malik crawled over and leaned against his arm. Dad, why is everybody talking about us? Darren muted the phone and set it aside again. Because sometimes when bad things happen to good people, other good people make noise until it gets fixed. Is it gonna get fixed? Darren pulled his son into a side hug. Yeah, baby. It's already started. Across town, in the fluorescent-lit bullpen of Oak Ridge PD headquarters, the mood was considerably less triumphant. Chief Marlon Tate, a barrel-chested black man who'd spent 28 years on the force and still carried himself like he was walking point, stood in the doorway of the conference room staring at the wall-mounted TV. CNN had picked it up. Not local affiliate. National. The cheering read, viral confrontation raises questions about racial profiling in Louisiana suburb. Bodycam footage, released within the hour after the DOD liaison threatened federal subpoena, was playing on loop. Every channel had it now. Tate turned to the room. Dwyer and Ramsey sat at the far end of the long table, still in uniform but stripped of weapons and badges, staring at their hands. Internal Affairs had already taken their statements. Neither man had much to say beyond, we received a call and we were concerned for child safety. Both knew the call logs told a different story. Tate's voice was low, controlled, lethal. You two just turned my department into a national punchline. And worse, you put every officer in this building under a microscope because you couldn't look at a black man playing with his kid without seeing a threat. Dwyer opened his mouth. Tate cut him off. Don't. Not one word. The mayor's already called twice. The governor's office once. And I just got off with someone from the Justice Department Civil Rights Division who sounded like they were taking dictation from God himself. He pointed at the screen, where a split screen now showed Darren's calm face next to grainy stills of Dwyer reaching toward his holster. You didn't just harass a citizen today, Tate said. You harassed a man who used to brief four-star generals on terrorist financing networks. A man who still holds clearance so high most people in this building wouldn't even know what the acronym means. And you did it in front of cameras, in front of kids, in 2026 when every damn phone is a body cam you don't control. Ramsey swallowed. Chief, we've administrative leave, effective immediately. Surrender your city-issued phones, laptops, and take-home vehicles. You will not speak to media. You will not post on social media. You will not discuss this case with anyone outside your union rep and legal counsel. Are we clear? Both men nodded mutely. Tate exhaled through his nose. Get out of my station. As they shuffled toward the door, Tate added one last thing, voice so quiet only they could hear it, and pray the feds don't decide criminal charges are warranted. Because if they do, I won't be the one standing in their way. Outside, the parking lot was already starting to fill with news vans. Inside Darren's living room, the sandcastle was complete, moat, dragons, tiny toothpick flags waving from the highest tower. Malik stepped back, hands on hips, proud. Darren's phone buzzed once more, this time a text from an unknown number. Mr. Hayes, this is Lieutenant Colonel Ramirez. Preliminary finding, clear abuse of authority plus racial bias indicators. Officers will be terminated within 72 hours barring extraordinary appeal. Federal monitor assigned to Oak Ridge PD for minimum 18 months. You and Malik are safe. If you ever need anything, use that number. We don't forget our own. Darren read it twice. Then he looked at his son, still beaming at the castle. Hey, General, he said softly. You want to take a picture of this masterpiece before we knock it down for bedtime? Malik nodded enthusiastically. Darren pulled out his phone, snapped the photo. And for the first time all day, let himself smile, really smile, without reservation. The storm was just beginning. But for tonight, the castle stood. The next 72 hours felt like watching a slow-motion explosion from the inside. Darren woke Sunday morning to the sound of Malik's bedroom door creaking open, followed by small feet padding across the hardwood. The boy climbed onto the bed without asking, dragging his favorite stuffed lion named Simba, the original one Aisha had bought when Malik was still in the NICU. He burrowed under the covers and whispered, "Dad, the TV people are outside." Darren cracked one eye open. Through the half-closed blinds he could see the telltale white satellite truck parked crookedly across two spaces in front of the duplex. A second one was pulling up behind it. He sighed, kissed the top of Malik's head. "Stay inside with the curtains closed, okay? I'll handle it." By 8:17 a.m. there were 4 news vans, 2 freelance camera operators, and a small knot of neighbors pretending not to stare while they walked their dogs extra slow. Darren stepped onto the tiny front porch in a plain gray hoodie and basketball shorts, phone already recording his own side of the interaction, just in case. A young reporter from Channel 9 Baton Rouge thrust a microphone forward before he even closed the screen door. "Mr. Hayes, can you comment on the viral video? Sources say the 2 officers have been placed on indefinite leave pending termination. Do you feel vindicated?" Darren kept his voice measured, the same tone he used when briefing colonels who outranked him by 3 stars. "I'm a private citizen trying to raise my son in peace. What happened Saturday was wrong, but I'm not here to do anyone's victory lap. I just want my family left alone today." He turned to go back inside. Another reporter, this one from a national cable outlet, called after him, "Sir, the Pentagon's involvement has raised a lot of questions. What exactly was your role in the military? Why do you still have that kind of direct line?" Darren paused, hand on the doorknob. He looked straight into the lens. "I served my country honorably. The rest is classified. Y'all have a good Sunday." He went back inside, locked the door, and immediately texted Colonel Ramirez, "They're outside the house now. News crews. Malik's getting scared." The reply came in under 90 seconds, "Stand by. Sending local asset for perimeter security. Non-uniformed. ETA 20 minutes. Do not engage press. We're preparing official DoD statement to shut down speculation on your clearance compartment." 23 minutes later, a nondescript black Suburban pulled up. 2 men in plain clothes, mid-40s, short haircuts, moving like they'd spent years in close protection, stepped out. They didn't flash badges. They simply positioned themselves at either end of the short driveway, arms folded, eyes scanning. The reporters backed up 6 feet without being asked. Malik peeked through the blinds. "Are those the good guys?" "Yeah," Darren said. "The really good ones." Inside, Darren turned off the TV. The news was cycling the same clips anyway, the park confrontation, freeze frames of Dwyer's hand near his holster, grainy zooms of Darren's phone screen, talking head panels debating reverse racism versus long overdue accountability. He didn't need to watch. He was living it. By Monday morning the story had metastasized. National outlets ran packages with titles like "Pentagon Steps In," Veterans call ends police confrontation and seconds black single dads classified clearance triggers federal review of small town PD. One conservative commentator tried to spin it as government overreach, claiming Darren was weaponizing old military contacts. Within 40 minutes, the replies were flooded with screenshots of Darren's DD-214, somehow leaked, probably from a well-meaning vet somewhere, showing multiple commendations, including a Bronze Star with V device for actions in eastern Afghanistan that still carried a classification caveat. The hashtag Pentagon Dad started trending. Someone dug up old unit photos from Darren's 2015 deployment, him in desert camo, kneeling beside a signals intelligence array, looking 10 years younger and 100 times more tired. Another user found Aisha's obituary from 2023, the one that mentioned Darren receiving the flag at the funeral while holding 2-year-old Malik. The contrast between that grieving soldier and Saturday's calm father facing down 2 armed officers hit people hard. Donations started pouring into a GoFundMe that at Mom Rochelle 504 set up without asking. Legal and living expenses for Darren and Malik Hayes. By noon Monday, it was at $87,000 and climbing. Darren called her personally to say thank you and to quietly ask her to add language about college savings for Malik instead of legal fees. He didn't need a lawyer. The system was already lawyering itself on his behalf. Meanwhile, inside Oak Ridge PD, the body count was rising. Chief Tate held an emergency press conference at 1 p.m. Monday. Cameras caught him looking like he hadn't slept since Friday. After a thorough preliminary review, including body-worn camera footage, dispatch records, DoD provided metadata, and witness statements, we have determined that officers Kyle Dwyer and Trent Ramsey violated multiple department policies, including but not limited to unlawful detention, bias-based policing, and failure to de-escalate. Both officers have been relieved of duty and their badges formally revoked. Termination proceedings are underway. The department has requested an independent audit by the Louisiana Commission on Law Enforcement and a federal compliance monitor from the DOJ Civil Rights Division. We are cooperating fully. He took 3 questions, all hostile. No, he would not speculate on criminal charges. Yes, the department was reviewing every interaction Dwyer and Ramsey had handled in the past 36 months. No, he would not comment on the Pentagon's involvement beyond saying, Mr. Hayes is a decorated veteran. His call triggered protocols we were not previously aware of. Behind the scenes, the 2 ex-officers were already retaining counsel. Ramsey's lawyer leaked a statement to a friendly blogger. My client was acting on a good faith citizen complaint regarding child safety. This is a politically motivated witch hunt. Nobody bought it. The internet had already reverse-searched every public photo of Ramsey from the last decade. Old high school posts surfaced showing him in hunting camo next to a Confederate battle flag. Dwyer's wife's Facebook had a 6-year-old photo of the family at a Blue Lives Matter rally with thin blue line masks. None of it was illegal. All of it was fuel. By Tuesday, the DOJ announced a formal pattern or practice investigation into Oak Ridge PD. Not just for Saturday, for the whole department. Historical data showed disproportionate stops, searches, and use of force incidents involving black residents compared to population percentages. The viral video had simply lit the match. Darren tried to keep Malik's routine normal. School drop-off Tuesday morning was surreal. Other parents clapped when he walked Malik to the classroom door. The principal met him in the hallway, voice low. We've had to station extra staff at the entrances. Reporters were trying to get on campus yesterday. I've told them Malik is off limits. Darren nodded. Appreciate it. That afternoon, an unmarked envelope was slipped under his front door. Inside, a single sheet of Department of Defense letterhead. Mr. Hayes, your actions Saturday demonstrated extraordinary restraint under duress. The compartment you served remains proud to claim you. Should you ever wish to consult again, officially or otherwise, the door is open. In the interim, attached is approval for expedited issuance of a new DoD CAC card, civilian variant, with updated secure communications privileges. Use only in extremis. Respectfully, Elena Ramirez, Call, USAOIG Special Investigations paperclip behind it was a small plastic card, gold chip embedded, Darren's photo from 8 years ago staring back at him. Still serious, still young. He slid it into his wallet, behind the photo of Aisha holding newborn Malik. That night, after Malik was asleep, Darren sat on the couch with the lights off, scrolling through the thousands of messages. Most were supportive. Some were vile, racist slurs, accusations he'd staged the whole thing, threats veiled as prayers. One message stood out. Verified blue check. A very famous civil rights attorney with a history of taking on police departments. DM, Mr. Hayes. If you ever want to turn this moment into systemic change instead of a one-off viral win, call me. Pro bono. No press. Just results. Darren stared at the screen a long time. Then he typed back, "Thank you. I'll think about it. Right now my only mission is making sure my son feels safe enough to dream big again." He hit send. Outside, the news trucks were still there, but fewer now. The Suburban with the quiet protectors had been replaced by a single unmarked sedan that rotated shifts. The castle in the living room had finally collapsed under its own weight sometime Monday night. Malik hadn't cried. He just said, "We can build a bigger one tomorrow." Darren looked at the scattered sand on the carpet, the broken toothpick flags, the dried blue food coloring staining the pie tin. Tomorrow, he thought. Tomorrow we build bigger. And maybe, just maybe, this time the whole world would watch the right way. The week that followed felt less like 7 days and more like 7 separate lifetimes stacked on top of one another. Tuesday night, after the last news truck finally rolled away around 11 p.m., Darren sat at the kitchen table with a lukewarm cup of coffee he hadn't touched. Malik was asleep in the next room, exhausted from a day of fielding curious classmates who kept asking, "Is your dad really a spy?" Darren had told the boy to just say, "My dad's a mechanic and he loves me." That's all you need to know. It worked, for the kids, at least. His phone lit up with a FaceTime request from an unknown number prefixed +1, 202. Washington area code again. He answered on the third ring. Colonel Ramirez appeared on screen, still in uniform, still crisp, but this time seated in what looked like a nondescript hotel room rather than an office. Behind her, blackout curtains, a single lamp, the faint hum of a white noise machine. "Mr. Hayes," she began. "I wanted to speak face-to-face for this next part." Darren leaned back in the chair. "Colonel, you've already done more than enough." "Not quite." She tapped something off-screen. A document appeared as a shared screen overlay. "This is the preliminary findings memo from the DOD OIG liaison to DOJ Civil Rights. I'm going to read you the key paragraph verbatim because you deserve to hear it unfiltered." She cleared her throat. "Based on body-worn camera analysis, dispatch metadata, witness corroboration, and historical CAD/RMS queries, the interaction of February 11th, 2026 at Lincoln Memorial Park constitutes a clear violation of 18 U.S.C. Section 242, deprivation of rights under color of law, with racial animus indicators. Further review of Officers Dwyer and Ramsey's enforcement history reveals a statistically significant pattern of disproportionate enforcement actions against black male subjects in non-criminal contexts over the preceding 36 months. Recommendation: immediate referral to U.S. Attorney's Office for Middle District of Louisiana for criminal prosecution consideration. Parallel administrative termination proceedings already in progress." Darren let out a slow breath. "They're actually pressing charges?" "Not my call," Ramirez said. "But the referral is formal. The U.S. Attorney called me personally an hour ago. They're convening a grand jury next month. No leaks yet, gag order on the local PD side, but it won't stay quiet long." Darren rubbed his jaw. "And the department?" "Federal monitor assigned tomorrow. Full access, ride-alongs, policy review, training curricula, personnel files. 18-month minimum, extendable. Chief Tate requested it himself, smart move. Shows good faith." A beat of silence. Then Ramirez's voice softened. How's Malik holding up? He's still processing. Asked me tonight if the police are going to come take me away like in the movies. I told him no. Told him the good guys are the ones who make sure nobody gets taken away for no reason. Ramirez nodded slowly. You're doing better than most would in your position. I've had practice keeping calm under worse, Darren said quietly. She didn't press. Instead, one more thing. The Secretary of Defense's office is aware. Not directly involved, yet, but your name crossed a very high desk today. They're proud. And protective. If this escalates beyond Louisiana, if national-level political actors try to turn you into a culture war football, we'll have your back. Quietly. Permanently. Darren gave a small, tired smile. Appreciate it. But right now I just want normal back for my kid. Understood. One last piece of business, we've expedited reactivation of your secure comms package. New encrypted device arriving tomorrow via courier, DoD courier, not commercial. Biometric lock, satellite fallback. Use codeword Echo November on first boot. Keep it offline unless emergency. Colonel. I left that life. I know. This isn't pulling you back in. This is making sure nobody pulls you under. The call ended. Wednesday dawned gray and heavy with rain. School was canceled district-wide, severe thunderstorms rolling through. Malik was thrilled, Darren less so. The house felt smaller with both of them inside all day. Around 10 a.m. the promised courier arrived, a plainclothes army sergeant in a black polo and slacks, no rank visible. He handed Darren a small padded envelope containing what looked like a ruggedized smartphone, matte black, no branding, fingerprint scanner on the power button. Sir, the sergeant said. Colonel Ramirez sends regards. If you ever need extraction, yours or the boys, just say the word. Darren took the device without opening it yet. Tell her thank you. And tell her I hope I never have to use it. The sergeant gave a crisp nod and left. By afternoon the rain had stopped, but the internet hadn't. The GoFundMe crossed $420,000. At Mama Rochelle 504 had to lock comments because the racists found it. A separate fundraiser started by a coalition of black veteran groups hit $180,000 in 48 hours, earmarked specifically for Malik's future education and therapy if needed. Darren called both organizers and asked them to cap donations and redirect access to local food banks and youth mentorship programs in Oak Ridge and Baton Rouge. They agreed, quietly proud. Thursday brought the first lawsuit. A civil rights firm out of New Orleans filed a class action against the city of Oak Ridge and Oak Ridge PD on behalf of 17 black residents who claimed similar profiling incidents over the past 5 years. Darren's name wasn't on the suit, he hadn't asked to be, but the complaint cited Saturday's incident as the paradigmatic example of long-standing unconstitutional practices. The mayor held a press conference at 4 p.m., flanked by Chief Tate and 3 city council members, 2 black, 1 white. She announced, immediate suspension of all proactive pedestrian stops without probable cause, mandatory de-escalation and implicit bias retraining for every sworn officer within 60 days, creation of a civilian oversight board with subpoena power, public release of 5 years of stop data dashboards by month's end. She also said, looking straight into the cameras, to Mr. Hayes and his son, the city of Oak Ridge failed you on Saturday. We are sorry. We are committed to making sure it never happens again, not to you, not to anyone. The clip went viral again. This time the comments were 80/20 positive. Friday morning Darren woke to Malik shaking his shoulder. Dad. There's a big truck outside. Darren looked out the window. A moving van. Not a news van, a legitimate Allied Van Lines truck. He stepped onto the porch in a t-shirt and sweatpants. The driver climbed down, clipboard in hand. Darren Hayes? That's me. Delivery from an anonymous donor. Full house relocation package, anywhere in the continental U.S. paid in full. Includes packing, transport, 30 days temporary housing at destination of your choice, and $25,000 cash equivalent moving stipend. Sign here. Darren stared at the paperwork. Who sent this? Driver shrugged. Says concerned citizens via intermediary. That's all I got. Darren didn't sign immediately. He called Ramirez instead. She answered on the first ring. Colonel, did DOD arrange a moving truck? A short laugh. No. But I can guess who did. There's a private foundation run by a group of high-net-worth veterans and their families that quietly relocates people who've been doxxed or threatened after high-profile incidents involving service members. They've been watching your story since Sunday. If you want the truck, take it. If you don't, send it away. No strings. Darren looked back at Malik, who was now staring wide-eyed at the giant truck like it was a spaceship. Where would we even go? Darren asked, more to himself than her. That's your call, Chief Warrant Officer. But if I may offer one piece of unsolicited advice, sometimes the best way to protect the mission is to move the battlefield. Darren thanked her, ended the call, and walked back to the porch. He signed. The movers started loading by noon. Malik helped carry small boxes labeled toys and castle supplies. He kept asking, "Are we going on an adventure, Dad?" Darren smiled, really smiled, for the first time in days. "Yeah, General. A big one." Saturday, exactly 1 week after the park, Darren and Malik stood in the nearly empty living room. The sand from the collapsed castle had been swept up. The blue-stained pie tin sat on the counter like a trophy. Darren took one last photo of the bare walls, texted it to Mom Rochelle 504 with the caption, "Thank you for being the voice when we needed one. We're heading somewhere new. Somewhere quiet. Malik says hi." She replied instantly, "Y'all stay safe. Build bigger castles. We'll be here cheering." The truck pulled away at 3:17 p.m. Darren followed in the Honda, Malik in the back seat clutching Simba and a brand new sketchbook full of dragon designs. They didn't tell anyone the destination, not yet. But as they merged onto I-10 heading west, Malik looked out the window at the disappearing skyline of Oak Ridge and asked, "Dad, are the bad policemen gonna follow us?" Darren reached back and squeezed his son's knee. "No, baby. They're too busy answering questions to follow anybody." A few miles later, Malik fell asleep. Darren glanced at the encrypted phone in the center console, still powered off. He didn't turn it on. Not yet. Somewhere ahead, the road stretched wide and open. And for the first time in a long time, it felt like the future might actually be kind. But the story wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Because when the grand jury returned indictments 2 months later, when the body cam footage was played in open court, when the viral clips were entered as exhibits, and when Darren Hayes, quiet, steady, still just a dad, took the stand in a federal courtroom wearing the same gray hoodie from that Sunday morning press scrum, the entire nation would watch again. And this time, it wouldn't just be about one Saturday in a park. It would be about every Saturday that came before it, and every one that would come after.